I want to take you back just a few years, back to 1992. There was the President John F. Kennedy Records Collection Act of 1992. This was to secure the release of all of the records relating to the assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1962 or 63. 62, wasn't it? Or 63. Anyway, when he was assassinated, they sealed all of these records. 1992 comes along, the records are 30 years old, and they're like, okay, come on, let's release these. They worked hard to get the information out. However, at the time, most assassination records being 30 years old, Congress stipulated only in the rarest of occasions is there any legitimate need for continued protection they should be released. The review board anticipated, as Congress mandated, that all postponed information, anything that had been redacted, need to be open to the public no later than 2017. Okay? So, 1963... 1992, all the way to 2017, this is still not being released, even though by law it's supposed to be. Okay, what are they hiding that 60 years later needs to be protected? We might have an answer, because next week these documents are supposed to be released. Will they be? And what do they hide? Jefferson Morley, the JFK Facts editor, joins us in 60 seconds. Jefferson Morley joins us now. Hello, Jefferson. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you on. I don't understand what it is that they are still protecting after 60 years.
Well, there's the big picture and there's the little picture. The big picture is there's about 16,000 U.S. government documents that contain some redactions ranging from a word, a name, to a paragraph, to a whole page. 16,000 different documents, most of those held by the CIA and FBI. So some portion of those will be released next week. And then very specifically, people ask me, people at the Mary Ferrell Foundation, at the JFK Facts Substack, where I write, what are they hiding specifically? And what they're hiding is what they've hidden all along, which is the interest of CIA officers in Lee Harvey Oswald, the man who was accused of killing Kennedy. The interest in him before President Kennedy was killed. That's the story that's here. It's a very sensitive story, and the CIA is loath to surrender it.
Okay, so hang on just a second. It is not necessarily that the CIA contracted him to kill Kennedy. It's that the CIA was involved with him 3 months before and had him running operations for them, right?
They were using him for intelligence purposes, what's called psychological warfare, which can mean a wide variety of things. But from the available record, what we see is that we see what's called a COINTELPRO style operation. Mm-hmm. You know what COINTELPRO is?
Explain it for the listeners.
So COINTELPRO was a joint CIA FBI program, which was in effect from the late 50s to the early 70s. And under COINTELPRO, the FBI or the CIA would secretly use tactics to harass, disrupt, destroy groups that were considered subversive, leftist, Martin Luther King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Socialist Workers' Party, sort of leftist groups that were officially considered subversive. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, CIA Counterintelligence Chief James Angleton, they wanted to suppress these groups, harass them, get rid of them. And so what seems to have been going on was a CIA operation against an organization called the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, a leftist group to which Oswald belonged. That's where he was being used for intelligence purposes. Is this operation evidence of a conspiracy? We don't know. It might be just incompetence. Maybe they ran an operation and then this guy Oswald up and shot the president. That part we can't tell without getting all of the records. But something's going on here, and what they're hiding is their pre-assassination interest in Oswald.
Does it strike you as we are living the same kind of history right now?
What, tell me more about the comparison.
We have the CIA and FBI involved in all kinds of things, like at Twitter, to silence people, to go after groups. The FBI is being used as a weapon. The intelligence departments are also being used as weapons. And it's go ahead.
Okay, Glenn, if we're talking about the January 6th insurrection, I think the FBI and CIA response has been not inappropriate. So
yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not talking about the January 6th. I'm talking about things that have been going on for a while. Just even look at what was released with Twitter and the FBI's involvement in Twitter and the Hunter Biden laptop, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, I don't know how the Hunter Biden laptop story is relevant to the JFK story. I do know what I'm talking about here. And, I don't want the JFK story to get wrapped up in contemporary politics. The people who want the truth from the government on this issue are from the left, people like me, people in the center, people who support President Trump. Across the political spectrum, there's wide support for this. So I don't want to get involved in a polemic about Hunter Biden's laptop, and this is just like that. The JFK story is unique in and of itself. I want to focus on that because it's a very important story that we're coming to see. I guess I would put it that way.
Yeah, I understand your point of view, and I agree with you. It's smart to do that. I didn't mean it to. I didn't mean it to pull you into politics, but I guess it was a question.
Well,
that would.
It's a fair question.
Yeah,
it's a fair question.
Yeah,
but I think it's a little bit of a sideshow, and I'd rather talk about something we agree about rather than something we disagree about.
So, what is it that you're looking for that will be possibly released or held?
We're looking at the personnel files of CIA officers who knew about Oswald before the assassination, and these remain classified. So we're trying to understand how CIA operations worked in 1963, and the documents that we're seeking are known. They have been identified by the CIA as concerning things like intelligence methods, cover, travel. And this, I think, will give more detail to what was going on with these CIA officers and Oswald in the course of 1963.
Do you have any doubt that Oswald did it and did it for his own personal desires?
Yes, I do. I don't think that Lee Harvey Oswald was the intellectual author of Kennedy's death. I don't think that. He might have fired a gun. I think he knew what was going on, but he was not. This was bigger than Oswald, and I think that the records that we're seeking will shed light on this. Did Oswald slip past all these CIA guys who were paying close attention to him in the summer and fall of 1963, or was there something else going on where people were actually manipulating Oswald to make him be what he said he was, a patsy?
And what was the CIA's motivation?
I think that we need to understand the depth of hostility to the Kennedy presidency in the upper levels of the Pentagon and the CIA in 1963. I think that there were people who were very afraid of Kennedy's policies on Vietnam and Cuba and regarded them as a threat to national security, a danger that had to be dealt with, by extreme means. That's my opinion. There's other interpretations. That's why we need to see all the records. But yeah, that's my best guess.
Okay, so you also wrote the book and just released the book on the Scorpion's
Dance, yes.
Yeah.
About the CIA and Watergate.
Correct. Can you go into that just a little bit?
So Scorpion's Dance tells the story of the very complex relationship between President Richard Nixon, 35th president, and Richard Helms, the 8th director of the CIA. These men were both, very powerful men from the mid-1950s to the mid-1970s. Helms as a rising officer and eventually director of the CIA, and Nixon as, vice president, as lawyer, super lawyer, and as president. So they have this very complex relationship because they're very, very different men. Nixon, this humble striver from the West Coast. Helms is the very picture of an East Coast, aristocrat. But they managed to get along through Nixon's first term, and then comes Watergate. And so their relationship is tested because all of those Watergate burglars worked for the CIA, or 6 of the 7.
Right.
So the book examines sort of how Watergate culminated in these two men's career, how it erupted, and how they were both brought down by it. Nixon was forced to resign, and Helms eventually was forced to plead guilty to obstructing Congress, and was the only CIA director ever convicted of a crime. So Scorpion's Dance is the story of those two men, Nixon and Helms.
So out of that came the Church Commission, right?
Right.
And have we effectively cleaned it out? Is the oversight there? Because when you have unchecked, spooky kind of power, it's good and it can be bad. And
yes.
You're not sure how, most people don't even know who the head of the CIA is right now.
Right. The Church Committee was the first effort of Congress to kind of rein in the CIA, cut their budget, hold them accountable. That's when the Senate and House Intelligence Committees were created. And sort of the knowledge of what was going on in the world of intelligence was distributed a little more widely in the Washington leadership. It wasn't just concentrated in the CIA director. Now there's what's called the Gang of Eight, which is the House and Senate leadership. The 8 top officials in Congress are cleared to see any covert operation that's being undertaken by the U.S. government. Now, that system of oversight is not very strong. It's been divided on, partisan lines in recent years. And yes, we do not have strong oversight of the intelligence community, and that's a problem.
Jefferson, will you do me a favor? If something comes out next week, when is this supposed to be released?
Well, the deadline set by President Biden last year is December 15th. So next Thursday, we expect that the archives will start depositing.
Who's the biggest obstructor of this? Is it the CIA?
By far. About 80% of the remaining documents that have redactions are CIA documents. So they are the agency that is most aggressive in asking for discontinued secrecy.
And Trump tried to get it released. Biden says it needs to be released.
No. Actually, that's wrong, Glenn. Trump said it should be released, said it was released. Unfortunately, he lied, and he caved to the CIA in December 17.
Wow.
And he kicked the can down the road 4 years to Biden. So Biden got the question last year, what do we do with these JFK documents? And the CIA and the federal agency said, the COVID dog ate my homework. We couldn't do it because of the pandemic.
Right.
So Biden said, okay, you have another year. So now we're at Biden's second deadline.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Biden acquiesced, and now hopefully Biden will do the right thing.
Okay. Jefferson Morley, thank you so much. If there's something in there, I'd love to talk to you again about what you find. Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
You bet.
Take care.
Bye-bye. I appreciate his viewpoint as a historian. And as a historian, he doesn't want to tie it to today's events. And as a historian, I understand that.
Yeah, he's going to stay out of that stuff.
Right. However, if you can't see the correlation here, if you can't see that these agencies are once again out of control, history only matters when it informs decisions that are being made today. You use history to say, yes, this is possible. This isn't conspiracy, because that's what has been said for the last 70 years since the OSS and CIA became an entity. These kinds of things have happened over and over and over again. And we don't have a protective wall to protect the American people and to protect the truth. There is no way to get the truth from these people.
Yeah, I agree. You know, that's what they say, history repeats itself, or at least it rhymes.
Yeah.
And the point of learning history is to make sure those repetitions don't happen again. Of course, you want to know history just for knowing the truth.
Yeah.
But that's the really pragmatic, applicable thing you're doing here. And look, again, as you mentioned,
if you're a historian,
yeah, he's not. That's not his
what you
world.
want to do,
right? But it's interesting for us to learn it, because you learn this stuff and you say, okay, what path should we avoid? Right? Like that's why you learn about, the Nazis. Every time you bring up the Nazis, people are like, oh my gosh, how could you bring that up? You can't compare that to today. And oftentimes that's true. In fact, almost all the time it's true, because it's the most extreme example most of us can remember outside of the Communist Party, which for some reason is deleted.
More extreme,
right?
But
right?
We don't think so.
No
for
one
some
wants
reason.
to bring that up. Whatever. Communist Party, Mao, whether you want to talk about Mao or Hitler or whoever you want to bring up, Stalin, you want to look at these things and not decide 10 minutes before the gas chambers open up that we should push back against these efforts.
This is almost what I said to Jennifer Say yesterday. Yeah, after the interview, we sat around and talked some more, and we were talking about how people try to silence you when you are pointing out facts. She's Jewish. Her husband is Jewish. They're not religious at all, but they are very well versed in the Holocaust. And I said, I always got heat because I would say, hey, these are the seeds that lead to the gas chamber. And I said, if I'm not mistaken, never forget, never again means when the seeds are being planted, not at the door of the gas chamber going, we shouldn't do this.
Right.
It's too late.
Too late at that point.
Yeah, and she said, I agree with you totally.
Yeah.
You have to look at history and not look at the end, but look at where the plants are being grown, where the seeds are being planted, and who's harvesting that field. And you till that soil and get rid of all of that stuff at that point.
Yeah, the time to check if there's a pool at the end of the water slide is not when you're halfway down it. You look from the top before you get on.
Right, exactly right.